Good afternoon and welcome to the 10th Annual Dreammakers and Risktakers Awards, presented by the Innovation Tri-Valley Leadership Group. ITV is a collective of regional leaders who are advancing the region as a place of collaboration and empathy, and proudly celebrates innovators at every age in the Tri-Valley. I'm Tim Sobrani, the co-chair of ITV's Education and Workforce Development Committee, serving along with co-chair Dr. Kelly Bowers of the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. And we are thrilled to have NBC Bay Area News and Emmy Award-winning journalist Jessica Aguirre with us, reporting in from the NBC studios and serving as Master of Ceremonies. Jessica has been a primetime evening anchor in the Bay Area for over 20 years, and we are honored to have her lead this event as she is deeply committed to covering stories that impact children, education, and literacy. Jessica has anchored and reported in Los Angeles, Miami, and the Bay Area, earning numerous Emmy and Associated Press awards for her reporting and investigative work. She is currently the co-host of NBC Bay Area's Race in America, The Conversation, alongside Marcus Washington. The show explores racial equity and social injustice and attempts to bridge the divide between backgrounds and generations. Jessica was recently inducted into the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences Silver Circle for 25 years of excellence in television journalism. Jessica lives right here in the East Bay with her two daughters. Her devotion to learning, supporting children, and local charities has her routinely on the lecture circuit discussing education, gender equity, and minority advancement in the workplace. We are tremendously honored to have Ms. Jessica Aguirre with us for this prestigious event, and we appreciate the proud support of NBC Bay Area and Telemundo 48.
Hello everyone, Jessica Aguirre here in the NBC Bay Area studio. Super happy to be with you today for the 10th Annual Dreammakers and Risktakers. Well, you know, here in the Tri-Valley, known as the heart of California innovation, we know that a great education is the key to a bright future. Innovation Tri-Valley Leadership Group also believes that curiosity, determination, and true grit are the human qualities that truly change the world. Now, we're going to celebrate a lot of that today together. Not surprisingly, of the 10 top public schools in the Bay Area, the Tri-Valley is home to 7 of them. So congratulations to all the educators and administrators all across our region today for helping us. Now, we're going to honor students from all of the school systems in the Tri-Valley and Las Positas College. This success shines a spotlight on your leadership, too. It is not lost on our Tri-Valley community that 60% of adults in the Tri-Valley have earned a bachelor's degree or higher, and that 26% have a master's degree or more. The Tri-Valley region values education and the spirit of achievement, and we are proud to have a rich culture of innovation here. But even more than that, the students that we will meet today are personally motivated. They each have an important reason as to why they have chosen to tackle key issues of the day. I want to highlight the fact that many of the students are identifying and really finding solutions to the challenges that we are reporting right here every night on the evening news. Now, my NBC series that I'm working on right now, Race in America, The Conversation, really looks at race relations and social equity, and it examines how these times are truly different here in the Bay Area and really in the world. The students that we're honoring as Dreammakers and Risktakers today are the problem solvers that we need in our future, and they are stepping up and finding ways to have real impact on some of the most uncomfortable challenges of our time. They're actually tackling mental health, racism, homelessness, the technological skills, training, and equal access. And we have to really ensure for all of us to succeed in the decades again. So I'm delighted to see such a diverse set of young humanitarians at work leading our community. So thank you for joining us in this moment to honor their insight and to look at the impact that they're having. The honorees make NBC Bay Area and Telemundo 48 proud to be sponsors of this event today. And we share our thanks with the lead sponsor today, Stanford Healthcare Valley Care. And special appreciation for a founding sponsor and 10-year supporter of this event, Chevron. Thank you to these generous supporting sponsors as well: Chabot Las Positas Community College District, Lucille Packard Children's Hospital, Stanford Children's Health, which has provided each award winner with a cash grant of $100, Uncle Credit Union, and of course Amos Productions. Our appreciation also goes out to Dr. Kelly Bowers and Tim Sabranti, who co-chair the Education and Workforce Development Committee for Innovation Tri-Valley Leadership Group and host this event. Tim Sabranti will be helping us meet the students in a safe way in a local recording studio this year. Now, next year, we plan to be live again with you again on stage. So let's move along quickly to celebrate the stars of this show. Okay, all around the world and here in the Tri-Valley communities, people who suffer from homelessness and hunger are fortunate to have the support and passion of a remarkable student dedicated to a life of service. Chandrika Narayan has a leadership role in her family's many charitable efforts in India at the Arti Girls Home for Abandoned Children and at Providing Possibilities Foundation. She provides shelter, food, fundraising support, and music therapy, all mixed in with a healthy dose of encouragement, inspiration, and positive energy. Chandrika also volunteers locally with the Livermore Homeless Refuge, creating meals packed with handwritten messages. I am now pleased to introduce Chandrika to you today as the award-winning student from the Long-Term Independent Study Program in the Pleasanton Unified School District.
I'm Chandrika Narayan, and I'm from Amador Valley High School. And the person I'd like to thank for nominating me is Lindsay Franco of the Independent Study Program.
That's wonderful. So you've got a really great project. Tell us what you think is the coolest thing about your project.
I think the coolest thing about my project is how I'm able to enact change from like so far away. The main project takes place in India, so I think it's cool that you can bring about change to a lot of people from far away.
No, that's wonderful. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you specifically to help others in this way.
I think what inspired me to help others was seeing like the way mental health struggles are treated and how people can handle them here and how a lot of it is too expensive for people in a lot of other places, and they tend to be the people who need it the most.
Yeah, now you're obviously driven by this work. Maybe you could tell us a little bit, why is this personally important to you?
I think this is personally important to me because of the mental health struggle of both myself and my friends and my peers at school, and seeing them struggle and seeing what they need to help them, and knowing that other people are going through the same situations or worse, and not being able to do anything about it. I think that kind of inspired me to like try to change things.
Well, and you saw the need to get involved, to do something, but who specifically inspired you to take action in the way that you did?
I think my mother definitely inspired me because she does a lot of work, and this orphanage in India is a family-run thing. So I think seeing her example ever since I was a child inspired me to do this.
Now, what for you has been the greatest reward for you personally based upon the actions that you've taken through this project?
I think being able to see that you've helped people in like a material way, and that you've actually enacted change and not just, I don't know, done something virtually or whatever, and that helping like real kids and seeing them and things like that is definitely like rewarding.
So there's a lot of people that might be inspired, a lot of students might be inspired by you and other dream makers and risk takers. What advice would you give other students who want to help their community, who have an idea, who want to help? What advice would you give them?
I think I would say that it's okay to start out small, because I didn't always like start out doing these things that take place from far away, I guess, and that a lot of my things started in elementary school, and just talking to teachers and principals and things like that, and on a very local level having to do with like my local homeless shelter. So I think you can build up to making the change you want in the world by starting in small and helping people around you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, thank you for all you've done, and congratulations on this award.
Thank you for your time.
Great.
Well, from autonomous vehicles to drone technology, the Tri-Valley will need an abundance of future leaders who are critical thinkers and problem solvers to really keep us on the forefront of innovation. Coding workshops in the Bay Area now begin for students at very young ages in order to be sure that we can really meet that future demand. In Dublin, though, student leaders make sure that those workshops offer intriguing challenges and problem solving that is engaging. The Youth Coding Workshop from Dublin High School is being honored for bringing programming literacy to middle school students all across the region. So please meet Kaif Giloni and Shreyas Lad as representatives of the 8-member Youth Coding Workshop team of award winners.
Hello, my name is Kaif Gilani.
And I'm Shreyas Lad.
And we are part of Youth Coding Workshops located in Dublin. And first of all, I'd really like to thank our amazing principal, Ms. Byrne, for nominating us for this award.
We'd also like to thank 6 of our staff members who've been with us since the start, including Samarth, Shreya, Manat, Nishad, Harun, and Aditya, as well as 15 of our other staff members who joined us along the way and have contributed their heart and souls into this organization. Honestly, YCW wouldn't have been anything without them.
Yeah, so YCW, Youth Coding Workshop, you guys do amazing work. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it and what you think is the coolest thing about this initiative?
So there are 3 major things that we like to focus on in youth coding workshops, and they can be summarized in 3 words: learn, collaborate, and compete. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is, of course, learning. YCW has a very extensive curriculum, so if any middle schooler was to join YCW, whether they knew a lot about programming or they didn't know anything, we have things for them, right? We have over 100 videos of curriculum, ranging from game design with Scratch, web development with HTML, and core development with Python, and a lot of other curriculums coming soon. And where do they learn these curricula? Well, they actually learn it in our branches. And so what we do is we like to go to middle schools and we like to establish enrichment programs. For example, Fallon Middle School and Cottonwood Creek Middle School, we've already established branches there, and we offer semester-long courses in whatever is kids are the most interested in. A lot of them are interested in Python, of course, but we also sometimes have HTML and Scratch in the mix.
Maybe you could tell me a little bit about what inspired your organization to help students in this way.
So for me personally, I started programming at a young age, but I only really started getting into it in around middle school. But when I actually started to, when I had these ideas to build projects, which I got over thinking about it a bunch of times, I turned to my middle school and saw there were no opportunities for me to really keep progressing. So I had to really rely on myself a lot. So I had to read documentation, I had to look at tutorials, and I had to build my own projects a lot of the time to learn anything that I wanted to. So I first started off in Python, and then I moved on to web development with HTML, then I moved on to x86 assembly, and then Java, and so on and so forth. And every single time, I'd have to keep building projects to keep learning. So once I got to high school, however, everything was different, because in high school we have all of these different courses with a strict progression. So anyone who's just starting out can go from this introductory course to more advanced courses and more specialized courses as they continue. Now, it was too late for me and a lot of my friends to take full advantage of this because we had to go through this a lot sooner. And on top of that, constantly building these projects day after day was incredibly difficult, and it required a lot of motivation because, we didn't even know what we wanted to do, and it's difficult to ask any young child or kid to pursue something that they're hopefully only going to reap the rewards of in the future. So it's very difficult for new students who are starting out to try to take this path and learn these different things, because there's so much effort and dedication that needs to be put into something that you don't know will even come to fruition or not. So that's why we try to help these students find that motivation and try to find the fun in programming and problem solving.
And through all this work, what would you say is the greatest reward that you've seen so far that you could cite that's really given you the greatest amount of satisfaction?
Well, when it comes to teaching, I like to think of a teacher akin to a gardener. What I mean by that is that, a gardener plants their seeds, sets up their saplings, and just watches it grow no matter how long it takes. 3 years, 5 years, and it grows into this amazing tree bearing amazing fruit. And if you look at it from a teacher's perspective, it's the same thing. You have these children who don't know about the subject you're going to be teaching them. You provide them the resources, you provide them the curriculum, the time, and they start learning from it, and they start absorbing the information, and they start growing. And you get to see what they do with the knowledge you give to them, right? The water that you give to them. They start growing, and they start making things you didn't even expect they'd make, right? Like some of my students make the most amazing projects out of things we teach, and I didn't even expect them to do that. And so honestly, that's the greatest reward, just seeing students do things that blow your mind, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great example. It's I love hearing that. So that's great. And I would say if there's others that are watching this, or others that know you at Dublin High, know what you're doing, and maybe they had their own initiative they wanted to undertake, give back to the community in some other way, what advice would you give a student who's looking to undertake a community service initiative like the one that you're doing now?
So there are really three things that are really important to keep in mind. So the most important one, number one, is to keep in mind that you can't create a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. So you need to make sure the most important thing you try to find is, what difference am I going to make? What change is going to happen under my watch? So once you have that, now you have something that you can start working towards. And number two, you need to make sure this problem is actually specific to you. It's something that makes you tick. It's something that makes you keep going forward. Doing this is very, very hard. You have to juggle your school and your home life, and also this entire other entity simultaneously. So you have to do a lot of these things at the same time. And unless you're properly motivated, unless you have the drive to keep going, nothing is going to happen. So it's all upon you to decide what you're going to make of this time that you have. And number three, you need to make sure that you find people that share the same vision as you. So nothing can be, the world can't be changed by a single person working alone. That would be completely impossible. You need to find other people who you can work with to achieve whatever you want, whatever you set out to do. So you also need to have a vision for how you're going to proceed and learn how to lead other people and teach them and work together in order to execute this goal. And that's the only way that real change happens. It's when you're motivated, it's when you have a problem to solve, and when you have other people to work with you.
That's so insightful. Thank you for sharing that insight, and thank you for the work that you're doing at YCW, and congratulations on this award. We wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you so much.
This pandemic has tested us all. But a lot of what it's shown us, we already knew. We knew our communities would meet this moment. We knew our people would rise to the occasion. We knew Stanford Medicine, made up of Stanford Children's Health, Stanford School of Medicine, and Stanford Healthcare, would be relentless in finding a way forward. Because no matter what the challenge, we would face it together. Together, we are working to end this pandemic, and together, we are ready for what's next. Today, tomorrow, always. We are Stanford Medicine, and we are here for you.
Now, we've been doing a great deal of news reporting about the urgent need for wellness and mental health support through the pandemic and beyond. The Culture Keepers at Livermore High School have launched a wellness center to meet the challenges of our time with prevention and intervention. Students here have rallied to create a place where they can cultivate positive change as they return to school to face a whole new series of real-world issues. The Culture Keepers are working with the People of Color Club, the Student Forum, the Straight and Gay Alliance at their school, along with many other student groups seeking inclusion and equity. And I am delighted to introduce to you Esma Al-Ghaguri and Rachel Hendry of Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District, two of the founding members of the Wellness Center.
Hi, my name is Rachel Hendry. I'm a junior at Livermore High.
My name is Esma Al-Ghaguri, and I'm also a junior at Livermore High School. Oh, and we're part of the Wellness Center, and we are culture keepers within the Wellness Center.
We wanted to thank Dr. Kelly Bowers and Mr. Radke for nominating us for this award.
We'd also like to thank all of our group members and Mrs. Pavon, our ROP teacher.
That's great. And it's a great project. You know, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the project, you know, the Wellness Center and Culture Keepers, and what's the coolest part about this project?
One of the coolest things about our project is that we are making mental health resources accessible across our campus to like every student that needs it, and just making sure that there's a safe space on our campus for all the high schoolers that go to our school.
No, that's great. And tell me a little bit, what inspired you to do this project specifically?
I mean, I've always had a thing with people where I just like to listen and to understand people because they want to be understood. So getting real life experience with that kind of stuff and psychology in general, it's not only helping me with my future careers and pursuing psychology within that, but also taking on an adult project as a 17-year-old and building it up from the ground. So.
No, it's a great experience, and it's having a big impact on your school site. Why is this so personally important to you?
I think it's personally important to me because I know how, like, I'm a high schooler as well, so I know that the social emotional learning aspect of, like, just and your mental health, it directly relates to how we perform academically. And so making sure that we're mentally well and performing academically well will just make sure that we have a good high school experience.
Yeah, no, it's so fantastic. And maybe tell me a little bit about what has been the greatest reward personally for the work. You've been involved in this work, all year long, but maybe you can share what's been most personally rewarding to you in this effort.
I mean, I think personally rewarding wise, I'm proud of myself for the work that I'm doing, but I'm also helping others, and I just think that's super cool that I get to feel like I'm a part of something and I did something good, but while helping other people feel like they're a part of something and did something good for themselves.
Yeah.
Adding on to that, I think that as a group, we've all kind of stepped out of our comfort zones. So we were all pretty quiet and just kind of like, oh yeah, we'll do it if you want. And we ended up, each adding something to this huge program. I do social media. Some of the other group members are working on the aesthetics of the room. So we're all stepping out of our comfort zones, and knowing that we're a part of something so big is just really rewarding. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's a great team effort. And a lot of people, I imagine, are inspired by your work. On your campus, your peers, other students see you taking leadership of this, and it can be inspiring. And maybe they have their own aspirations to do something that they're passionate about and believe in. So what advice would you give other students, your peers on your campus, or those from other schools that are watching this that want to help in the community, want to get involved, maybe don't know where to start or how? What advice would you give them?
Probably just to do it. I mean, we weren't really thinking this was how our year was going to go. We didn't think we were going to build a wellness center, and here we are. So I think just taking charge, and if you're passionate about it, go for it.
Yeah, adding on to that, I also agree that, like, just going for it, you never know where your impact's gonna lie. Like, you can always, like, you may just be helping someone, but you may be inspiring them to go and do something else, like you said. So just going for it and just making mental health a topic on your campus, talking about your own struggles, talking about things you saw throughout the day, that might help others feel comfortable talking to you and maybe someone professionally. So just making it an easier topic to talk about.
Well, you both went for it, and your whole group went for it, and you've done great work and are helping so many students, not just now, but as a legacy piece moving forward on your campus. You have a lot to be proud of. Congratulations on this honor, and best of luck to your efforts moving forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The headlines call out the role the United States plays on the international stage today, and our young social change agents are working to raise the quality of education and opportunity for all. Amaya Ghoshal of Monte Vista High School in the San Ramon Unified School District created her own global nonprofit, believe it or not, called Learning Outreach to improve the quality of education in local and global communities. In Kenya, India, and Peru, her work focuses on underserved areas where students simply don't get the education that they need to succeed. Amaya has found ways to effectively fill gaps in math literacy by studying the core curriculum and creating helpful teaching guides. And she's also found success in raising funds to support the tech needs here for some of our local schools, too. I am pleased to introduce you to local and global education advocate and humanitarian, Amaya Ghoshal.
My name's Amaya Ghoshal, and I go to Monte Vista High School. And I would like to thank Mr. Brooks, my school counselor, Mrs. Weiss, our principal, Dr. Ahern, and our superintendent, Mr. Malloy.
So tell us a little bit about your project, and specifically, what's the coolest thing you think about your project?
My project is called Learning Outreach, and it's a registered nonprofit organization, and it's also a club at my high school. And I would say that the coolest thing about my project is that it's all student run. And it actually didn't start out that way, and it started out with me just going to local homeless shelters and different organizations to tutor, but we were able to grow it so much, and now all of the students at our school run social media, fundraising, and tutoring events and different volunteer activities, and just seeing that progression is really something that's really cool and exciting about this project.
You seem to be personally driven by this, so maybe you could talk a little bit about what personally has driven you to take action in this way.
There's this cycle of poverty, and it's so hard for people from lower income areas and backgrounds to kind of get out of this cycle of poverty, and education is directly related to it. And if students had equal opportunity to succeed in their education, there would be different job outcomes and career outcomes. So I'm personally inspired, and I really want to progress educational equality to give more students the opportunity to be able to succeed in their education and really pursue something in their life that they're truly passionate about, and get to choose a career that they're really excited about.
No, that's awesome. I mean, everything you're doing is great, and maybe behind every great leader, there's usually a mentor or somebody, an individual that really gives some guidance and some leadership and some mentorship to the project. Maybe you can talk about who that person is that inspired you to go in this direction.
I want to share a story from when I first started tutoring at the Winter Nights homeless shelter. So when I first started tutoring this young boy who was a couple years younger than me, he was failing a lot of his classes, and he didn't have a lot of motivation to do well in school and to try to turn in his assignments and do well on tests. And as I got to know him better over the couple months I was tutoring him, I got to know what he was interested in, and I was able to bring that into our tutoring sessions and kind of relate that back to them. And that connection that we formed really showed after a couple weeks, and after working with him over several months, he was able to improve his grades, and he went from failing all of his classes to getting B's on his final report card. And I share this story not to take credit for his hard work that he put into it, but more to show that, like, with one-on-one coaching and tutoring and giving more supplies to students who are in need, they can do so well in school. And I shared this story with a lot of the club members at Learning Outreach at Monte Vista, and so many students were inspired by this, and then that's really what drove me to continue is after this first experience with tutoring.
So that's an amazing story. Like the ability, what you've seen, to help that student. When you talk about the totality of your work and you take a step back, what do you think has been the most rewarding aspect of the work that you have done and that your group has been able to accomplish?
So over the past 4 years, there's been so many significant memories that are so exciting to think back on. But one that really stands out to me was last year during COVID, and the Learning Outreach Club had just made a switch from doing all these in-person events to now having to do them virtually. And we were fundraising for a school in Richmond, California that didn't have a lot of access to resources such as Chromebooks and hotspots and books so that they could continue online learning. So we started fundraising for them over a couple of months, and then we sent them this gift card to Amazon to be able to purchase these supplies. And what really stuck out to me is the teacher emailed me thanking me for this, and she shared the story of this one student who, when he was signing the yearbooks at the end of the year, instead of writing his name or have a good summer, he wrote how excited he was to read this specific book that he got from us fundraising for him. And he was so excited to read it. And that story really stuck out to me, and it's something that I'm probably going to remember for the rest of my life.
That's incredible. Well, thank you for your time. Congratulations, and best of luck to all your efforts moving forward.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
It's only human to pursue the elusive, while also capturing the possibilities, even something like CO2. Over the last decade, Chevron has spent over $1 billion on carbon capture projects. and is investing in startup companies working to transform carbon into new forms of energy.
Young social change agents have no hesitation about the hard work needed to cross boundaries, especially when they're dedicated to busting cultural myths and improving awareness. Las Positas College students Esma Al-Ghaguri is leading the teen advisory group at the Tracy Library, and she also volunteers at the Las Positas College Food Bank and the Brentwood Muslim Community Center. Now, she recently developed a popular program for students to learn about other cultures, a quiz-like myth-busting of misconceptions and misrepresentations of people of different cultures and ethnicities. Las Positas College Dreammaker and Risktaker Esma is an 18-year-old who is heralded for embodying inclusion, awareness, and wisdom. Let's meet Esma.
My name is Esma Al-Ghaguri. I'm a psychology major at Las Positas College, and I would love to thank Dr. Foster and Ashley McHale for nominating me for this award. I'm truly thankful for them, and I'm so grateful to be here.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about the project specifically that you've been involved with and what you think is the coolest part about that project?
Over the past 2 years, I've been involved all across Las Positas, volunteering wherever I could, but something that I'm really passionate about is a two-part series honors project that I was able to conduct with two professors, Jim Ott and Lucas Haston. And the first was a journal article that spanned over 10 pages, and I worked with people who were in crisis internationally, who were going through sexual assault trauma, who were going through racial issues in their countries, and I was interviewing them to see how COVID affected them in their area with their culture, and if I could help them in any way through counseling or with resources from California. And what I was able to do is I conducted an in-depth research study in the spring of last year, and then I continued that on in a podcast this past fall with Professor Haston, where I interviewed over 30 people across the globe, and I was able to surpass 15 minutes in recording, and I did counseling and just an in-depth conversation. Hey, how are you? How are you dealing with everything that's happening this year? And the coolest part to me is just working with those people, getting to hear their stories, elevating their stories on a level that provides their voice to be just broadcasted on a scale that I don't think they would have been heard otherwise.
Well, and you're obviously very passionate about this project and about the work. Why is it so personally important to you?
I think that we're all just people living on Earth, and I feel like it's our responsibility as people who coexist with one another to help each other. And so that's why it's important to me, just to be able to fulfill that role.
What's the greatest reward personally that you've gotten from the work? You've obviously been in the trenches, you've been involved, but what personal reward have you gotten the most out of the work?
I think it might be a little bit selfish to say this, but I think it's human as well, where it's just the human aspect of it, helping people. If I'm able to go to bed that night and say, hey, I impacted someone's life, I was able to talk this person off the ledge, I was able to help this person through something, that's the most rewarding thing to me.
And someone, say, on your campus, or someone who sees this program, who's inspired, who wants to help, who wants to get involved, what advice would you give them?
It's really hard starting out, especially in community college. Every force around you is telling you, hey, you can't do this. You're just a community college student, but we're not. We're people with complex lives, with complex problems, and we have the capability to do whatever we want as long as we believe in what we're doing. And so my advice to them is just go for it. You want to do something, look for resources in the Bay Area, look for resources around you. If you're transferring, look for resources there. Whatever you want to do, wherever you are, go for it. You're going to do great.
That's so inspiring. That's awesome. Well, great job. Congratulations. And thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much.
Great.
We have met some amazing students so far. Here are two more. Alexis and Megan are friends who created a podcast to have brutally honest conversations about some of the most uncomfortable questions and controversial topics in life. We're talking climate change, Black Lives Matter, death, fear, even a heartfelt conversation about the meaning of success. All of them are dealt easily in their very conversational podcast series. Their work gives teens real insight about how to live a full life and offers insight about growing and thriving in what are really challenging times for us. The Tri-Valley Regional Occupational Program has nominated this duo for tackling topics that some presumed would be too complex for teenagers, and yet these two demonstrate how strong teens can lead the way with determination, leadership. Meet Alexis Bondarenko and Megan Mehta.
Hi, my name is Megan Mehta. I go to Amador Valley High School. I'm a senior, but I'm also part of the Tri-Valley ROP Middle College program, and the middle college staff nominated me and Alexis.
And I'm Alexis Bondarenko. I'm also a senior at Foothill High School and also part of the TV ROP Middle College program.
Great. Well, thank you again for being here, and congratulations on this award. And, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your project and what you guys think is the coolest aspect of it.
Sure. So we have a podcast called ThinkScope, and we basically just have these really uncomfortable conversations intentionally so that we can spark conversations about important topics. And I think the coolest part about our project is that by talking about all of these really weird issues and things that people avoid, or even things people think teens are too naive to understand, we're sort of introducing Gen Z voice in these conversations.
Yeah, and definitely what's really cool about our project is seeing this really deeper understanding about our generation's perspective on things and really getting to create a space for people our age and teenagers to really talk about these sort of issues that we see in the world.
Yeah, so maybe tell me a little bit more about what inspired you specifically to go in this direction, and how do you feel like it's helping others?
Yeah, so actually at middle college, every single Friday, me and Megan would go to a coffee shop and we would just have these philosophical conversations for hours and hours. And we really decided that it'd be really cool to turn this into a podcast. And especially once COVID happened and all this craziness of 2020, we really realized that there's a lot of stuff going on right now. And it's really important for us to have a space to talk about these things and really see where our generation, and from a generational perspective, what we see in our voice and how we perceive these things in the world and all this crazy stuff that's happening.
Yeah, and for me, what really, in addition to all of that, absolutely, what really inspired me was the fact that we're sort of seeing a lot of polarization, a lot of drift apart, especially between generations. There's sort of a really weird communication gap between Gen X, Boomers, and Gen Z. And so by introducing our voice into the conversation and, just being open to having these conversations in the first place, we're hoping to sort of bridge that communication gap and stop polarizing, depolarize, I guess.
No, that's a tremendous service, and you're both very passionate about this work. Maybe you could just talk a little about why is this work you feel important to both of you?
I feel like it's very personal to me. It's very important to me because I've sort of seen how that, as I said before, that communication gap, how as that grows, it really influences and sort of dissolves relationships that used to be very close. I've seen that firsthand. And so that sort of personal aspect of being able to influence and influence other people and maybe hopefully inspire them to have conversations in the same way is why it's really important to me.
Yeah, and then along with that, there's just a lot going on right now. And I think at this moment, we kind of realize that there's a lot of things that need to change. And our generation especially has a lot to talk about these things. We have a lot of opinions and a lot of emotions about this kind of stuff. And that with all this stuff going on, having this space to really talk about it is really important, because without talking about these difficult conversations, nothing's going to change. And the first step is really sitting down and talking about it, even if it's really uncomfortable. And especially with talking about it, we're going to be able to progress to a moment where we are going to be able to create change in the world.
Yeah, and I think it's a great way to bring people together to create a common understanding. You guys are great leaders, and this is a great service that you provide. But a lot of leaders, a lot of those in different forms of public service or media, they usually have mentors or maybe a leader or someone that inspired them along the way. And maybe you could talk a little bit about who may have inspired you to go down this path.
Yeah, I'd say mostly who inspired us was going to middle college and hearing all these teenagers in the morning before class talk about all these issues, and hearing that a lot of other teenagers were feeling the same way, and that there's a lot of stuff going on and a lot of people wanted to talk about it. And especially in middle college, we had this teacher, Mr. Verbis, in our civics class and our Gov and Econ class, and that was really a chance in that class to sit down and have these open conversations with him, especially get a connection between his generation, how he perceives it, and then us as teenagers, and really really talking through it as a class and talking with each other about these issues.
Yeah, and sort of going off of that, what really inspired me personally, and I also think a little bit Alexis, is that our peers, being able to understand what they're feeling, but maybe they just don't have the space or the platform to talk about these issues, or like really weird things that they're feeling, maybe related to social injustice, or maybe racism, or perhaps socioeconomic inequality, climate change, all of those really weird things that we don't necessarily talk about. So that platform, building that platform for them is what inspired me based on how they were feeling.
When I was your age, I had a radio sports talk show. I feel so inadequate. You guys are talking about these deep, intense subjects, and we were talking about RBIs and home runs and touchdowns, and so you guys are at a whole different level. It's awesome what you're doing. So I want to congratulate both of you on both the podcast and the work that you're doing, as well as this well-deserved reward. And I wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
What an amazing group of students we have honored this year. Thank you for joining in this celebration of the remarkable young people who will lead our communities here in the future. We are clearly in good hands. The Innovation Tri-Valley Leadership Group's Education Committee is committed to ensuring that high school and college graduates all across the region are prepared to be successful members of today's workforce. If your company would like to join Innovation Tri-Valley Leadership Group and work to advance education in our community, please contact us at We appreciate all of our regional education partners who every year identify the Dreammakers and Risktakers Award recipients. All 4 of the Tri-Valley School Districts, the Tri-Valley Regional Occupation Program, and Las Positas College. We also appreciate the many elected officials who offer commendations for award recipients each year, including Alameda County Supervisors Nate Miley and David Halbert, Contra Costa County Supervisor Candace Anderson, State Assembly Member Rebecca Bauer-Cahan, and United States Congressman Eric Swalwell. Thank you all.
Well, congratulations to all of the 2021 Dreammakers and Risktakers. As an East Bayer myself, this has been an incredibly meaningful gathering for me to share with you. I hope you feel inspired and motivated like I do to go out and innovate, create, help make the world a better place. Thank you to each and every one of our 2021 Dreammakers and Risktakers. And I leave you with a great quote from Alan Kay, an early computer scientist born way back in 1940. He said, "The best way to predict the future is to actually go out and create it." So you go do just that. Thank you for doing that. NBC Bay Area and Telemundo 48, honored to share this event with you today. We look forward to seeing you and celebrating with you all again in person. Bye-bye.